Hey guys, it's Tom Box here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about 3 cards I believe that should be banned in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Just so that we can change the meta. Now to quickly summarize the current meta, this is the Raging Tempest / Maximum Crisis era, and right now decks are super fast. They are so fast, not at OTKing your opponent, but at establishing setup to prevent your opponent from even being able to play. And more decks are able to do this, like you're seeing more and more 2-card combos, 1-card setups, and that has altered how we play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because at the very first turn, with the very few resources that we have available, we can establish such a strong board and gain so much advantage to the point that your opponent can never keep up anymore. And that is why we have moved forward to playing so many hand traps in our deck, and that has also altered how we build our decks. But what are the main culprits? Like, playing very few resources usually means that you are unable to, grind the long game, but we're grinding longer than ever, and we're getting setups that are so free and so strong that everyone basically can plug in engines everywhere. So who are the main culprits to lead the format in that direction? Well, if you want to change up the format, these 3 cards have got to go. The very first monster that I would like to see banned just to strictly change up the format is going to be Daigusto Emerald. Some of you guys won't agree with me, he doesn't seem like he's that broken, but let me explain why. Daigusto Emerald, he's an 1800 beast stick that has the ability to shuffle 3 monsters back into the deck to draw 1 card. Seems fair enough, doesn't seem that broken. But there's another card that has a very similar effect that's banned. It's Pot of Avarice. Shuffle 5 monsters back in and then draw 2 cards. If you actually use Daigusto Emerald's effect twice, it's basically the same deal. Of course, it's much slower and Daigusto Emerald has a body. But one of the key differences here is that Pot of Avarice, once you use that Pot of Avarice, you're not going to be able to do it again. However, 2 copies of Daigusto Emerald and 2 copies of Daigusto Emerald, you're going to be able to loop this, and therefore providing you with infinite resources and an additional draw per turn. And that is kind of busted if you think about it. That's the reason why we are able to build our decks as they are right now. Our decks, especially the top decks right now, they consist of maybe 25%, like about 10 cards that's mainly their win condition, the archetype that they're playing. Then they have about maybe 20% hand traps, about 6-7 hand traps right now. And then they have deck synergy, which are the draw engines and I guess the search engine as well. And then they have a bunch of board wipe in case their opponent gets the full setup. Seems like a regular deal, right? You got the Dark Holes, you got the everything, you got Torrentials, you have everything, and maybe you have a couple like D-Bears to blow out your opponent. And how am I able to actually grind against your opponent? Like, people say Zoodiac is such a hard grind because trying to grind against Zoodiac, like, they always have infinite resources, and that's thanks to Daigusto Emerald. Would a Zoodiac player actually do very well if there was no Daigusto Emerald? Well, they would have 1 or 2 recoveries through Zoodiac combo, but the main difference between Zoodiac combo is you can run out of Zoodiac combos. You can't run out of Daigusto Emerald. If you have 2, you can always loop. And that loop is just so good because Zoodiacs don't really have much damage aside from the ones that they attach with, or maybe an occasional 1 or 2 Xyz, but Daigusto Emerald will provide you with an 18 beat stick that slowly chip away your opponent's life points. That all in all combined together kind of makes it so that you can run very small win conditions in your deck, but you're still able to outgrind your opponent, and that's basically the game thanks to Daigusto Emerald. So to me, seeing him at whether it be 0 or at 1, I don't care. Just don't let me infinitely cycle Daigusto Emerald. So you know what? Just ban this card. Just get out of here. The second monster that needs to get banned to change up how we play Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Zoodiac Dryden. Since Raging Tempest, this card has been, well, very problematic to decks that can't keep up with it because this card is really fast, and for control decks, having a fast setup is always a good thing, and this card is the ultimate setup because it's only requiring 1 monster, 1 Zoodiac monster, and slap it on top, bam, I can pop one of your face-up cards. That's basically a free, well, a +1 for me, a -1 for you. That really sucks. And because it's such an easy access card, every deck basically can shove it in unless their deck has some sort of restriction that doesn't allow you to play it. But if they can play it, they will play it because it is so free. It doesn't hurt you just to play this card. And that has affected how we build our decks. A lot of people are shoving in a Zoodiac engine just because they can, because they have access to that Dryden, and they want to put it a Dryden just to threaten the board some more. And aside from just like controlling the board, Dryden is also one of the best baits. It forces traps to activate so that you don't get the most ideal timing for your traps. You go into Dryden, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I should strike that now, but then if you strike that, your opponent's like, oh, I'm gonna go into a Trishula and ruin your board. There's a lot of funky ways to actually, well, screw your opponent over thanks to Drident. And Drident, well, is one of the most definitive cards of the format that has basically shaped how we play Yu-Gi-Oh! In the current, well, meta. By removing Drident, the game can go in two directions. The first direction is that the game gets faster, because without Drident to stop any of these plays, we're gonna get an OTK heavy format. Or the other hand is, well, it gets slower and maybe people are actually able to have more meaningful card interaction rather than, I'm just gonna set up a board so that you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! That kind of deal. And the third card that I believe that should get banned, should we change up the format, would be Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. Now, if we lose the ability to infinitely loop resources and the ability to basically set up the fast Drident, well, board wipes are a problem, because right now how we answer the board is we use less 1-for-1 cards anymore. Before, we use like Compulse, Wing Blast, we have Karma Cuts, and we have all the Paleo stuff, and now it's all about Dark Hole, Raigeki, Kaiju Slumber, boom. But Kaiju Slumber in particular is much more aggressive and much more versatile, because even if Kaiju Slumber doesn't wipe the entire board, you can obviously on the next turn banish it from the graveyard, add a Kaiju to hand, and clear the remaining monster. So it's really good. It's actually really well designed in terms of clearing off problem monsters, especially monsters that are Towers-esque, like a Masterpiece, I don't know, a Magnus, all those big problem monsters that basically win you the game, put your opponent on a 2-turn clock. And, well, it is good that we can answer them with Kaiju, but adding a Kaiju Slump to wipe the board on top of it is just a bit much. Like, if you think about like a Crystal Wing that is Wind Witch protected, you can clear that off with a simple Storming Mirror Force, you can clear it off with a Compulse, like cards that we used to play that are a bit more skillful, that most people would say you have more meaningful interaction. And I believe if you want more meaningful interaction, you're gonna, well, not generalize that. To answer any board, we have to use a Slumber or a board wipe to do so. And, well, Slumber obviously gives you the ability to not only clear the board, but also deal damage, potentially even OTK your opponent. And I think that's a bit too much. And, well, let's hope that we can actually slow down the format. Using Dark Hole, I'm not as scared, especially if I get Dark Hole, it's basically getting the first part of Slumber without taking the damage. I don't think that's too much, but being able to push for an OTK right after the Slumber, that's a bit crazy, and decks that can't keep up with it, decks that cannot handle their board being wiped like that and not being able to further recover, that actually creates a huge gap between some of the best decks and the decks below it, and therefore, again, reduces the variety of decks that we're able to play competitively. And just as a throw-in, for one card that I believe that should get banned, or Errata, the Grand Soil. I saw the Grand Soil loop. You know what? We don't want a FTK in our game. So yeah, Grand Soil, it's you, not Firewall Dragon, it is you that probably needs to go. Anyways guys, what are your thoughts about the cards that need to get banned to change up the format? Do you like the current format? Do you want to change the format? Do you think the format's been a bit too stale since Zodiacs kind of came in for like the last, I don't know how long Zodiacs have been in this game, but long enough I would say. And yeah, let me know down in the comment section below. I would love to pin the most interesting bans to the top. And as always, I'm going to now proceed to the end phase. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please drop us a like so we know we are doing a good job. And you can also subscribe to MST.TV for more fantastic videos by clicking on the button on the left. Don't forget to check out our partners at Imperium Duelist. They make really high quality mats, including some of my own limited edition release stuff. And if you want to check out one of our past videos, click here on the right. As always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV, and I'll see you next time.